The small box in my jacket pocket felt heavier with every step. Inside was a simple silver necklace with a tiny heart charm. It wasn't expensive, but I'd spent weeks choosing it. Emily once stopped outside a jewelry store, smiled at something almost exactly like it, then laughed and walked away. I remember that smile. Tonight was her birthday. I thought it would also become another memory we would tell our kids someday. That was how sure I was. 3 years together had made everything feel settled. We already knew each other's coffee orders, favorite movies, bad habits, and secret fears. We had even joked about wedding songs while making dinner one rainy evening. Nothing felt uncertain. At least, not to me. Music poured through the apartment as people laughed around the living room. Emily loved hosting parties. She floated from one group to another, greeting everyone with bright eyes and effortless charm. Watching her from across the room always made me feel lucky. Daniel bumped my shoulder with a grin. "You've got that face again." "What face?" "The one that screams, 'I'm marrying this girl.'" Heat reached my ears. "Maybe someday." He chuckled. "You've been saving money for that ring, haven't you?" I smiled without answering. That was enough. Daniel raised both hands. "Relax. Your secret's safe." Someone called his name from across the room, and he disappeared into the crowd. I touched the small gift in my pocket again. Just one quiet moment with Emily. That was all I wanted. She had wandered toward the balcony with 3 of her closest friends. I followed slowly, planning to surprise her. Halfway there, my phone vibrated. Another message from the same unknown number. "Please call me regarding your grandfather's estate. This matter is important." I sighed. The lawyer again. Ever since Grandpa passed away 2 weeks earlier, those messages kept arriving. I never answered. Grief already felt heavy enough. Besides, Emily needed me. There always seemed to be something more important. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and continued toward the balcony. Then I heard Ryan's name. My steps stopped. Emily laughed. Not the polite laugh she used with strangers. The real one. The one I loved. One of her friends leaned closer. "So, if Ryan suddenly wanted you tomorrow?" Emily rolled her eyes with a playful smile. "Oh, come on. No, seriously." Another laugh. Then came the sentence that changed everything. "I'd choose Ryan." The world seemed to lose its sound. One friend blinked. "What about Ethan?" My heartbeat became painfully loud. Emily shrugged. "Ethan is safe." The word landed like a stone. "I mean, he's dependable." Another sip from her drink. "He loves me more than anyone ever will." Someone frowned. "That's cruel." Emily let out a quiet breath. "I'm not trying to be cruel." She looked toward the city lights. "It's just, Ryan has always been the one that got away." Another pause. "If he never wants me." She smiled. "Then Ethan is my backup plan." Nobody answered immediately. One friend shifted uncomfortably. "You've been dating Ethan for 3 years." "I know. You live half your life with him." "I know. Does he know any of this?" Emily's smile disappeared. "He doesn't need to." Every word carved something out of me. Another friend crossed her arms. "That's not love." Emily stared into her glass. "I do care about Ethan." "Care, not love. He's stable." Another pause. "He'd never leave." I nearly laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because the future I had imagined vanished so quickly that my mind refused to believe it. My fingers tightened around the gift box. The edges pressed into my palm. Pain helped me stay standing. One more friend spoke softly. "What if he finds someone who chooses him first?" Emily answered without hesitation. "He won't." Confidence. Absolute confidence. She believed I would always stay. Always wait. Always forgive. The gift suddenly felt ridiculous. I stepped backward before anyone noticed me. One slow step, then another. Nobody called my name. Nobody knew I had heard everything. The music inside felt louder than before. People laughed. Someone danced near the kitchen. Life continued. Mine didn't. Daniel spotted me near the front door. "You leaving already?" I forced a small smile. "Not feeling great." Concern crossed his face. "You okay?" "I'll call you tomorrow." He looked like he wanted to ask more. Instead, he nodded. "Drive safe." Outside, cold air hit my face. Only then did I realize I had been holding my breath. The gift stayed inside my pocket all the way home. My apartment greeted me with complete silence. The dinner I had cooked before leaving still sat on the kitchen table. The pasta had gone cold. 2 plates, 2 glasses. I had expected Emily to come over after the party. I slowly carried 1 plate into the sink, then the second. Water ran over food that would never be eaten. Near the front door rested 2 keys. Mine and Emily's spare key. They had always looked like they belonged together. Tonight, they looked like strangers. I picked hers up. The metal felt colder than usual. Without thinking, I placed it a few inches away from mine. The small space between them somehow matched the distance inside my heart. My phone vibrated again. The lawyer. Another message. I almost ignored it. Instead, I opened it. Mr. Ethan Carter, this concerns your grandfather's final wishes. Please contact me as soon as possible. I rubbed my tired eyes. Grandpa had always believed timing mattered. Maybe this was his final lesson. I pressed the call button. The phone rang twice. A calm older voice answered. Mr. Carter, sorry it took me so long. No apology is necessary. His tone became gentler. I've been trying to reach you because your grandfather left very specific instructions. My stomach tightened. I assumed everything had already been settled. It has not. Paper shuffled on the other end. There is something he wanted only you to receive. I leaned against the kitchen counter. What is it? A brief pause followed. Then the sentence that changed my future forever. Your grandfather left you full ownership of your family's company. I frowned. My family doesn't own a company. It still does. Another pause. No one else knows it exists anymore. My grip tightened around the phone. The business is failing. His voice stayed calm. It carries debt, risk, and almost no public attention. He let those words settle before continuing. But according to your grandfather's will, another page turned. Everything now belongs to you. Sleep never came. The sky outside my window slowly turned gray while the lawyer's words echoed through my head. A company. Mine. The thought should have excited me. Instead, all I could hear was Emily's voice. He's my backup plan. By sunrise, I had made one decision. No matter what happened next, I would never tell her what I had overheard. Not because she deserved protection, because I deserved peace. The lawyer's office occupied the top floor of an old brick building downtown. It wasn't flashy. Neither was the man waiting for me. Victor Hayes stood as I entered, his gray suit perfectly pressed and a thick folder resting on the polished desk. He offered a warm handshake. Your grandfather spoke about you often. A small smile appeared before disappearing just as quickly. I wish we had met under better circumstances. So do I. He motioned toward the chair. Coffee steamed between us. Neither of us reached for it. Victor opened the folder carefully. Your grandfather built Hayes Manufacturing almost 40 years ago. I frowned. I've never heard that name. Very few people have. He slid an old photograph across the desk. Grandpa stood beside a factory entrance, smiling proudly while dozens of workers gathered behind him. The building looked alive, busy, hopeful. That wasn't the man I remembered. The grandfather I knew spent quiet afternoons fixing broken radios and telling me patience mattered more than talent. You were young when he sold most of the business, Victor continued. After your parents died, he stepped away from public life. My fingers rested on the old photo. He never mentioned any of this. He wanted you to grow up without feeling trapped by family expectations. Victor leaned back, but he never stopped believing in you. Another folder opened. This one held numbers instead of memories. Debt, loans, missed payments. Red ink covered nearly every page. The company survived on paper. He paused. In reality, it's close to collapsing. I let out a slow breath. So why leave it to me? Victor smiled gently. Because of this. He unfolded a handwritten letter. The paper had yellowed with age. My grandfather's handwriting filled the page. If Ethan is reading this, then life has probably hurt him. My throat tightened. Victor remained quiet while I read. I built this company with my own hands. I lost almost everything trying to protect it, but I never regretted creating something nobody could take away from me. One day you may discover that people don't always love as deeply as you love them. When that day comes, remember this. Never build your whole life around someone else's heart. Build something that belongs to your own. My vision blurred. Grandpa knew, not the details, but somehow he understood the kind of man I would become. Always giving, always waiting, always putting someone else first. Victor folded the letter carefully. He wanted you to receive this only when you were ready. A bitter laugh escaped me. I don't think anyone is ready for a morning like this. No, his expression softened. But difficult mornings often become turning points. An hour later, I signed the inheritance papers. The pen felt strangely heavy. With one signature, I accepted a company drowning in debt. At the same time, I accepted that my old life had ended the night before. Victor slid the final document into a folder. Congratulations. I smiled faintly. That doesn't feel like the right word. Perhaps not today. He stood. But one day, outside, my phone buzzed. Emily. Her smiling picture still appeared on the screen. Good morning, Red Heart. Still sleeping? Come over tonight? Nothing had changed for her. She still believed yesterday ended with a birthday party, not with the death of our future. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed, "Can we meet this afternoon?" 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Of course. Everything okay? We need to talk. Daniel arrived at the coffee shop before I did. One glance at my face erased his usual smile. What happened? I placed Grandpa's letter on the table. Then I told him everything. Not quickly, not dramatically, just the truth. The party, the balcony, Ryan, backup plan, the inheritance. When I finally stopped talking, Daniel rubbed both hands over his face. I want to be angry. I already was. But I'm tired. He leaned forward. So what now? I ended. You gonna tell her why? The answer came faster than I expected. No. His eyebrows lifted. Really, if I tell her, she'll defend herself. He nodded slowly. Or deny it. Or cry. Or blame the alcohol. I managed a tired smile. Exactly. Daniel folded his arms. You know what hurts her the most? I waited. You walking away without giving her something to argue against. The thought stayed with me. Before leaving, he placed a firm hand on my shoulder. Don't waste this chance. What chance? Your grandfather gave you a future. His voice grew quieter. Don't spend it chasing someone who called you second choice. Emily opened her apartment door, wearing one of my old hoodies. The sight almost broke me. She smiled. There you are. She stepped closer, expecting a hug. I stayed where I was. Her smile faded slightly. What's wrong? I reached into my pocket. Her spare apartment key rested in my palm. She stared at it. Why do you have that? It belongs here. Confusion spread across her face. Ethan. I placed the key on the small table beside the door. I think we should end this. The room became painfully still. She blinked once, then laughed softly. You're joking. I didn't move. The laughter disappeared. You're serious. Yes. She searched my face. This is because we argued last week. No. My birthday. No. Her arms crossed. Then what? I lowered my eyes for a second. I've been thinking about us. A long pause stretched between us. I don't think we're building the same future. She shook her head. This doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to. A tiny spark of irritation appeared. So that's it. I nodded. That's it. She waited, probably expecting me to explain, to beg, to change my mind. When nothing came, frustration replaced confusion. You'll calm down. I already have. This isn't you. No. I glanced toward the hallway. I think it finally is. She took one step forward. You'll call tomorrow. I won't. Another pause. You always come back after we're upset. Not this time. Those words remained inside me. I simply stepped toward the door. Her voice followed. So you're just leaving? Take care of yourself, Emily. I opened the door. She didn't stop me. Maybe she believed she didn't have to. The drive home felt strangely quiet. No music, no tears, just empty roads and unfinished memories. Back inside my apartment, my thumb rested over Emily's contact. Delete. The phone asked if I was sure. I closed my eyes, then pressed yes. Her number disappeared. Our photos remained. I couldn't erase those yet. Maybe someday. Just not today. 3 days later, I returned to Victor's office to collect more company records. Boxes filled with old files waited near the elevator. As I carried one toward my car, a familiar voice drifted across the parking lot. Ethan, Emily. She stood frozen near the sidewalk, grocery bags hanging from one hand. Her eyes moved from the boxes to the lawyer's office, then back to me. What are you doing here? Questions crowded her face. Before another word could leave her lips, I placed the box inside my car, closed the trunk, and slid behind the wheel. The engine started. She remained standing in the same spot, watching me through the windshield. This time, I didn't stop. I drove away without looking back. The factory smelled like dust, oil, and forgotten dreams. Broken machines lined one side of the building. Half the lights no longer worked. Water stains covered parts of the ceiling. This was the company my grandfather had trusted me to save. Standing in the middle of that empty floor, I finally understood why he had left it to me instead of selling what little remained. He hadn't left me a business. He had left me a reason to become someone stronger. Victor walked beside me, holding a stack of reports. We have 23 employees left. So few. We once had more than 200. His voice carried quiet sadness. Most believed the company would close before winter. I slipped Grandpa's old watch onto my wrist. Victor noticed. He always wore that. It helps. Ow! I brushed my thumb across the worn leather strap. It reminds me that someone believed in me before I learned to believe in myself. He smiled. That's a good place to begin. The first month felt like one long fight. Bills arrived faster than payments. Old customers had already found new suppliers. Some workers expected me to give up after a few weeks. One afternoon, an older mechanic folded his arms while staring at another broken machine. Boss. The words sounded strange. This one isn't worth fixing. I stepped closer. What if we rebuild it instead? He chuckled. That'll take days. Then we'll spend days. He studied me for a moment. You really plan to stay? I'm not here to watch this place disappear. A few nearby workers exchanged quiet glances. That afternoon, nobody went home early. Every evening ended the same way. Coffee, paperwork, numbers that refused to cooperate. Sometimes I fell asleep with financial reports spread across my desk. Sometimes I woke before sunrise without realizing I had ever gone home. The work exhausted me. It also kept my mind away from Emily. Daniel visited almost every Friday. He never arrived empty-handed. Sometimes coffee, sometimes sandwiches, sometimes terrible jokes. He leaned against my office door while watching me study another budget. You know, normal people take weekends off. I'm trying to become profitable before I become normal. He laughed. Fair enough. His smile slowly faded. Any word from Emily? I kept reading. A few messages. You answer. No. You even read them? Not anymore. He nodded with quiet approval. Good. Another sip of coffee. Keep looking ahead. 3 months passed before I hired someone new. Victor placed a resume on my desk. Claire Bennett. I glanced over the qualifications. Financial restructuring. Corporate recovery. Debt management. Everything we desperately needed. She agreed to an interview. Victor smiled. She enjoys impossible projects. Claire arrived exactly on time. Simple navy suit. Notebook tucked under one arm. Confident without appearing arrogant. She shook my hand firmly. I expected someone older. So did everyone else. A small smile appeared. I like honest answers. She opened her notebook. I've reviewed your financial records. I'm sorry. That surprised a laugh out of her. At least you know they're a disaster. I've spent months staring at them. Claire spread several pages across the table. You've made good decisions. I don't feel that way. That's because you're measuring effort instead of progress. She pointed toward one chart. Revenue has increased. Another page. Employee turnover has stopped. Then another. Customer satisfaction is climbing. I blinked. I've been so busy fixing problems that I never noticed. That's common. She leaned back. Leaders often forget to look at how far they've already come. Those words stayed with me long after the meeting ended. Working beside Claire became surprisingly easy. She challenged my ideas without attacking them. When I made mistakes, she focused on solutions instead of blame. Late one evening, we stayed in the office reviewing contracts. She closed another folder with a tired sigh. You know, I glanced up. You're nothing like the rumors. I frowned. What rumors? That the new owner inherited a dying company and would probably sell everything. A smile touched my face. People really believe that? I almost believed it too. And now, she met my eyes. Now I think you're too stubborn to quit. I'll accept that as a compliment. It was. For the first time in months, laughter came naturally. Not forced. Not painful. Just real. Across town, life kept moving for Emily. I only learned pieces through Daniel. He never shared gossip. Only facts. One evening he dropped in my office after work. You remember Ryan? My hands froze above the keyboard. Barely. Daniel crossed his arms. Apparently he's seeing someone else. I remained quiet. He told Emily he never wanted anything serious. A strange feeling settled inside me. Not happiness. Not revenge. Just acceptance. Daniel watched my face carefully. You okay? I think. The words came slowly. I'm finally understanding something. What? She chose a dream. I looked around my office. I chose reality. The company slowly found its feet. One small contract became 3. 3 became 7. Machines started running again. Workers smiled more often. The day we replaced the faded company sign, nearly everyone gathered outside. The old letters came down piece by piece. Years of failure disappeared with them. A brand new sign rose into place. Hayes Manufacturing. The employees clapped. Some even wiped away tears. My grandfather's name stood proudly above the entrance again. I quietly touched the watch on my wrist. We're getting there. The word were meant for him. That same week, a local business magazine published an article. Young owner revives forgotten manufacturing company. My picture appeared beside the headline. Nothing flashy, just me standing in front of the factory. I almost threw the magazine away. Claire picked it up instead. You should keep this. Why? Because one day you'll forget how impossible this looked. I had no idea Emily would see it too. Daniel called later that evening. You might want to prepare yourself. For what? Emily knows. My hand tightened around the phone. Knows what? That you're the owner. He paused. She's been asking everyone why you never told her. A bitter smile crossed my face. She never asked what I wanted. Now she wanted answers. The next morning began like every other. Coffee. Meetings. Emails. Claire stood beside the conference room window reviewing financial reports. She looked up. You're smiling. Am I? It's becoming a habit. I'll try not to ruin my reputation. She laughed softly. A knock interrupted us. The receptionist stepped inside. There's someone asking to see you. Who? Her expression turned uncertain. Emily Carter. The room became very quiet. Claire glanced toward me without asking questions. I closed the folder in front of me. No appointments this morning. There aren't. Then please don't interrupt the meeting. The receptionist nodded. I understand. As she turned to leave, I walked toward the glass wall overlooking the lobby. Emily stood near the entrance. Her eyes searched the office until they found me. Before she could raise a hand, Claire handed me another file. Ready? I smiled warmly. Let's finish what we started. Together we walked deeper into the conference room. The blinds slowly closed, leaving Emily standing on the other side of the glass. Emily was waiting outside the factory when I arrived on Monday morning. She stood beside her car with both hands wrapped around a paper coffee cup. The drink had long gone cold. She noticed my car immediately. Hope flashed across her face. I parked without rushing. The engine stopped. For a moment, neither of us moved. When I stepped out, she took one careful step forward. I've been trying to reach you. I know. You blocked my number. Yes. Her fingers tightened around the cup. I just want 5 minutes. I checked my watch. I have a meeting in 10. Then give me 5. The quiet in her voice carried more weight than any tears. I nodded once. We walked toward a bench near the entrance. Employees passed by, offering polite greetings before disappearing inside. Nobody stared. Nobody whispered. Life kept moving. Emily lowered her eyes. I've replayed everything in my head. I waited. I thought you'd cool off. Another pause. When you didn't come back, I realized I never understood you. The words settled between us. I always believed you would. I know. She looked toward the factory. You built all of this. I'm trying. You never told me. There were many things we never told each other. She closed her eyes for a second. I deserve that. No anger. No excuses. Just quiet acceptance. I was scared. Her voice almost disappeared. Scared of choosing one future forever. I stayed silent. Ryan always felt exciting. A bitter smile crossed her face. You felt safe. The same words from that balcony returned. Only this time, they sounded empty. I thought keeping you close would protect me if everything else failed. She laughed once. It held no joy. Turns out I was protecting myself from losing, while making sure I lost the person who mattered most. The wind carried fallen leaves across the parking lot. Neither of us reached for them. I don't expect you to forgive me. Good. She nodded slowly. I only wanted you to know the truth. I already knew enough. Her eyes searched mine. What does that mean? I looked toward the factory doors. It means we're done here. She opened her mouth, then stopped. The words never came. I walked inside. This time she didn't follow. Claire noticed my mood before lunch. You met someone outside? I did. She placed 2 coffee cups on my desk. Bad conversation? Necessary conversation. She leaned against the bookshelf. You don't have to tell me. I know. That simple answer somehow made it easier. It was my ex. Claire nodded. No judgment. I appreciated that. She smiled gently. We all carry old chapters. Her eyes drifted toward the factory floor through the office window. The important part is not living inside them forever. A week later, Daniel burst into my office carrying his phone. You need to see this. He placed it on my desk. Ryan's picture filled the screen beside another headline. Local investor accused of misleading multiple business partners. I read quietly. False promises, hidden debts, broken agreements. Several people had already filed complaints. Daniel folded his arms. Looks like the truth finally caught him. I handed the phone back. I don't feel happy. I know. He studied me carefully. But you're not hurting anymore either. He was right. The pain hadn't disappeared. It had simply stopped controlling my every thought. News spread quickly. Some of Emily's closest friends publicly distanced themselves from Ryan. Others admitted they had warned her long ago. The fantasy she had protected for years collapsed within days. One afternoon, Victor entered my office carrying another folder. Interesting timing. What happened? A reporter called. I frowned. About Ryan? No. He smiled. About you. I raised an eyebrow. They want to know how this company survived. I've only done my job. Victor laughed quietly. People love stories about impossible recoveries. I'd rather they focus on the employees. They already are. He placed a folder on my desk. And they also discovered where the recovery money came from. My heartbeat slowed. My inheritance. He nodded. They know you invested almost everything instead of selling. I leaned back in my chair. So that's public now. It soon will be. 3 days later, Emily came to my apartment. Not to ask for another chance. She carried a cardboard box. When I opened the door, she held it out with both hands. I found these while packing. Inside rested framed photographs, movie tickets, small souvenirs from vacations, birthday cards, 3 years reduced to a single box. My eyes stopped on one picture. Emily and I stood beside the ocean, laughing at something beyond the camera. She noticed where I was looking. I couldn't throw it away. Neither could I. She swallowed slowly. I'm moving. Where? My lease ends next week. A tired smile appeared. I don't think I can stay in that apartment anymore. The image of her home crossed my mind. The place where I had imagined building a family. Now it held packed boxes instead. I hope you find peace. She lowered the box. I hope you already have. Before leaving, she hesitated. There's one more thing. She reached into her purse. A tiny velvet ring box rested in her hand. You left this in my place months ago. I stared at it. The engagement ring. I had bought it before everything fell apart. She never knew. My fingers closed around the box. I wonder why you never asked for it. I forgot. That wasn't entirely true. I had buried the memory so deeply that it no longer hurt every day. Emily stepped backward. Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye. She walked toward the elevator without turning around. The doors closed. I remained standing there holding the life we almost had. That night, I unlocked the ring box. The diamond caught the kitchen light. It still looked beautiful. I didn't throw it away. I closed the lid and placed it inside a drawer beside Grandpa's letter. Some memories deserved respect. Not because they should return, because they had shaped the person I had become. Claire found me working late again. She noticed the unopened dinner beside my laptop. You forgot to eat. I forgot the time. She pushed the food closer. The company needs you alive. I laughed. I'll keep that in mind. She sat across from me. Can I ask something? You already are. What keeps you here every night? I thought about the answer. It used to be proving something. And now, I looked through the office window toward the workers finishing another successful day. Now it's protecting what we've built. She smiled. That's a better reason. The warmth in that moment felt different from my past. There was no pressure, no pretending, just quiet trust. A week later, the company hosted its first charity gala. The event celebrated local workers and raised money for job training programs. The ballroom buzzed with conversation. Employees dressed in suits instead of work uniforms. Families laughed together. Grandpa would have loved seeing it. Victor adjusted his tie beside me. You nervous? A little. You earned this. Across the room, Claire greeted several guests with effortless confidence. She caught my eye and offered an encouraging smile. Before the ceremony began, the host stepped onto the stage. We'd like to recognize someone whose personal sacrifice saved this company and protected hundreds of future jobs. The room grew quiet. He risked his entire inheritance instead of walking away. Applause slowly began. Then everyone turned toward me. At that exact moment, the ballroom doors opened. Emily stepped inside. She froze as every pair of eyes settled on me. The applause seemed to last forever. Standing on that stage, I searched the crowd without meaning to. Claire smiled with quiet pride. Daniel clapped harder than anyone else. Victor stood with his hands folded, looking exactly like a man whose promise had finally been fulfilled. Then my eyes found Emily. She remained near the ballroom doors. She wasn't crying. She wasn't smiling. She simply watched as people congratulated me, one after another. Months ago, I would have searched for her approval. Tonight, I accepted kind words from strangers without needing hers. The host handed me the microphone. I don't think this company survived because of me. My voice echoed across the room. It survived because people refused to quit. Several employees exchanged proud smiles. Only invested money. I glanced toward the workers sitting together. They invested their trust. The applause returned. This time it felt warmer, more personal. After the ceremony ended, guests gathered around the tables for dinner. Claire walked beside me. You handled that well. Almost forgot how nervous I was. She laughed softly. I could tell. You could. You kept touching your watch. I looked down. Grandpa's old watch rested exactly where it always had. Old habit. A good one. Before another word could leave either of us, a familiar voice drifted across the room. Ethan. Emily. Claire noticed the change in my expression. I'll give you some space. You don't have to. She smiled. I know. Then she quietly walked toward another group of guests. Not because she felt threatened, because she respected boundaries. The difference didn't escape me. Emily stopped a few feet away. Thank you. For what? For speaking with me. We're already speaking. A weak smile crossed her face. I guess we are. She held a folded piece of paper between both hands. I wrote this. You didn't have to. I know. She looked down at it. I was afraid I'd forget the important parts if I tried to say everything. I didn't reach for the letter. She slowly lowered her hand. Maybe it's better this way. The ballroom buzzed with distant conversation while we stood inside our own quiet corner. I've spent months trying to understand why you changed so completely. I didn't. Her eyebrows lifted. The person you see now was always there. A long breath escaped her. I just never appreciated him. Neither of us hurried the moment. Some truths needed room to breathe. I blamed Brian for a long time. She gave a tired laugh. It was easier than blaming myself. I stayed silent. He never promised me forever. Her fingers tightened around the folded paper. I invented that future all by myself. She looked toward the stage where I had stood only minutes earlier. You did promise forever. I meant it. I know. A tear slipped down her cheek. She brushed it away before another one could follow. Losing you forced me to meet the version of myself I spent years avoiding. The honesty in those words felt real. Not because they erased the past, because they didn't try to. I was selfish. She swallowed carefully. I wanted excitement without risk. Her eyes found mine again. And I treated your love like something that would always be waiting. The sentence hung between us. It reminded me of another night, another balcony, another conversation she never knew I had heard. I need to tell you something, too. She nodded. What is it? I already knew. Confusion crossed her face. Knew what? The birthday party. I watched the color leave her face. I heard everything. Her lips parted, but no words came. The balcony. I spoke gently. You call me your backup plan. The folded letter slipped from her fingers onto the floor. You heard that? I did. She covered her mouth with one trembling hand. Oh, God. That was the day I walked away. Her breathing became uneven. You never told me. There was nothing left to argue about. She closed her eyes. I would have explained. I know. I would have apologized. I know. I would have begged you not to leave. A quiet smile touched my face. That's exactly why I stayed silent. She stared at me. My greatest secret was never the company. I touched Grandpa's watch. It was deciding that I wouldn't let betrayal decide the rest of my life. The words settled into the space between us. She nodded slowly. I understand now. I think you do. Another pause. This is really goodbye, isn't it? Yes. She didn't fight the answer. She accepted it. I'm grateful for one thing. I waited. You became the man you were always meant to be. A strange warmth settled inside me. Not because she finally recognized my worth. Because I no longer depended on it. Thank you. Her eyes filled once more. I hope one day someone loves you the way you deserved all along. I hope you find peace too. She offered one last smile. Small. Honest. Then she turned and walked toward the exit. This time I didn't wonder if she would look back. I didn't need her to. The following weekend, I opened the closet in my apartment. Old sweaters, photo albums, small gifts, pieces of a life that no longer belonged to the man I had become. Several boxes soon filled the hallway. Most would be donated. A few photographs stayed, not because I wanted to relive the past, because pretending it never happened would also erase everything I had learned. The closet slowly emptied. Fresh space replaced old memories. One message remained on my phone. Emily's final text from weeks earlier. I truly hope you're happy. My thumb rested over the screen. Delete. The conversation disappeared. This time, there was no hesitation. No second thoughts. Just quiet acceptance. Claire invited me to a small cafe near the factory. No business reports. No contracts. Just coffee. She smiled as I sat down. You actually left work before sunset. I'm full of surprises. I've noticed. The waiter placed 2 cups on the table before quietly walking away. Claire stirred her coffee. I wanted to ask something. Go ahead, now that you're no longer running from your past. She looked up with a gentle smile. What do you want? Nobody had asked me that in a very long time. I thought carefully before answering. I want a future built on honesty. She nodded. So do I. Another comfortable silence settled over us. Not awkward, not heavy, simply peaceful. She reached across the table, not to pull me closer, not to rescue me, just to rest her hand beside mine. I turned mine over. Our fingers met naturally. No promises, no pressure, only trust. It felt like the beginning of something healthy. A few months later, I unlocked the factory before sunrise. Golden light spilled across the parking lot. Rain had welcomed the night my old life ended. Sunrise greeted the morning my new one truly began. Inside my office, Grandpa's watch rested beside the company keys for a brief moment while I poured fresh coffee. 2 symbols, one reminding me where I came from, the other reminding me where I was going. Employees slowly arrived. Machines came to life. Laughter echoed through the building again. Before starting another busy day, I locked my office and slipped my phone into my pocket. I didn't check for messages. I didn't wonder if Emily had written again. I simply walked toward the factory floor, ready for whatever waited ahead. Only then did I understand the greatest secret I had ever kept. It wasn't the inheritance.